Now, game week 27 went okay for me. I'm on 50 points and I'm down slightly to 18k overall. And here are my transfer plans for game week 28. We got to start the video then by looking at how my team has actually gotten on in game week 27. As I said, I scored 50 points and I'm up to 18k overall. Talk through my defence first, and well, I've got 3 clean sheets from 4 players, which is a bit of a turnaround from how my defence looked last week. I'm really glad that I kept faith in the Forest defence. I had the view that, you know, Arsenal, with just how depleted they are in attack at the moment, basically having to play Merino as their centre forward, I felt there was a clean sheet on there, particularly considering they were at home. Yeah, and they've been amazing defensively this season, right? And I'm glad to have been proven right. So Aina and Sells both with a clean sheet there. Liverpool, to be honest, I think if Isak started the game, I'm not sure they would have kept a clean sheet. And to be honest, Isak being benched was a massive saviour for my team, to be honest. And you'll probably see that already, but I'll talk through that in a bit more detail. So yeah, clean sheet for Trent. He was on bonus points when he got subbed off, but I think he must have lost those as the game went on and other players overtook him in BPS. Robinson obviously got benched in game week 27. He would have come on for a 1-pointer for me, but unfortunately picked up a yellow card as well. So he finished the game week on 0 points. Semenyo, another blank and a yellow card for him. I mean, it is what it is with Semenyo, really. I don't think I can really justify getting rid of him. But yeah, a little bit disappointing to see another blank from him. I did expect a bit more from Bournemouth against Brighton. Obviously, Kluivert was the one who scored the goal. He's the most owned of the kind of 3 sort of popular Bournemouth midfielders. So me owning Semenyo, who didn't return, versus those owners of Kluivert who did return, that kind of hit my rank a little bit. I'm hoping as the game weeks go on, while I've got Semenyo in my team instead of Kluivert, although we'll talk about potentially bringing Kluivert in, I'm hoping as those game weeks go on, you know, the points will kind of even out. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think there's justification to sell Semenyo. Another blank for Cole Palmer. Incredibly unlucky, to be honest, in game week 27. Those who captained him, I think you can consider yourself really unlucky. For me, it was a real 50-50 down the wire decision between whether you captain Palmer against what is probably the worst team in Premier League history, or whether you captain Salah, who is definitely not playing the worst team in Premier League history, but is in way better form. I elected to go for Salah with the form that he's in, but when you look at the underlying numbers both players put up, Palmer was far more dangerous in the game than Salah actually was. So those who captained Palmer, I think it was a good decision. You're just unlucky, and I say I'm lucky because I captained Salah, although ultimately, you know, there's not a whole lot of points between the two anyway. So, you know, the fact that Salah only got the assist as my captain, obviously kept a clean sheet too, but so did Palmer. Yeah, there's much of a muchness between them, so I wouldn't stress about it. And Mbumo with an assist, another assist for him for a Wissa goal. I don't have Wissa for the goal, but I'll take the assist from Mbumo. Rodgers was actually on my bench because FPL had him flagged with a knock. And then obviously I started Isak instead. But with Isak not starting or not being in the squad for Newcastle against Liverpool, obviously Eddie Howe is never going to give you information about Isak. So we're left in a bit of a hole as to how Isak's going to look going into game week, 28 and 29. Rodgers was on my bench, like I said. I was really disappointed to see him score a goal when he was on my bench. In fact, he could have had a brace in that game. So I think Watkins set him up for 1 goal early on into the game. And he was actually flagged for offside. So yeah, I'm happy. You know, the disappointment I had about Rodgers' goal while he was on my bench has gone away because obviously he's been able to come into my team. And then 2 blanks up front for Cunha and Wood. I don't really need to say a whole lot about Chris Wood, I don't think. You know, the game was 0-0. Arsenal were really strong defence. Wasn't really expecting a whole lot from Chris Wood in that game. Yeah, he just didn't get the chances, to be honest. I was a little bit disappointed in Cunha, though. I did feel like, I don't know, I felt like there were goals in that game for him. He was my transfer in, by the way. I transferred out Gakpo for Cunha, which I guess has sort of paid off in a way. Because long term now, I've got Cunha in my team, I think is better than Gakpo. But then, unfortunately, the next game for Liverpool is Southampton. So I've just sold Gakpo for Cunha, who's blanked. And then Gakpo has Southampton up next. So I guess there's a little bit of a question mark as to whether Slot actually needs to start Gakpo. You can see there on my bench, Isak, who of course didn't feature in the squad against Liverpool. He's going to be a bit of a problem in my team going forwards because we won't get any info on Eddie Howe as to how serious his injury is. He just never gives anything away in press conferences. Fabianski is no longer the starting West Ham goalkeeper, and Hall and Greaves for 1 pointers each. All right then, a quick look at how I think my team is going to shape up for Game Week 28, provided I don't make any transfers. So I'm going to persist with Sells in goal. Trent, Hall and Robinson I think is going to be my back line. I think starting double Nottingham Forest defence against Man City is a bit of a risk. You know, Man City have obviously been in poor form recently, but they've not struggled to score goals necessarily. Obviously they did against Liverpool, but that's by the by. I think there is a risk that Nottingham Forest concede in that game to the point where I don't want to start double Forest defence. And when I've got Trent against Southampton, Lewis Hall against West Ham and Robinson against Brighton, I think those three with their respective fixtures are better than Aina. So for that reason, I think it's worth benching Aina. And also you can see there at the moment, I'm having to bench Rodgers again. But I think with all of the other players I have in my team and how good they've been this season, I think that's the right decision. Although it is really close. Semenyo and Rodgers are probably the two I could chop and change a little bit. But yeah, I think that's probably the right play. Salah, Palmer, and Mbumo, Semenyo in my midfield. I think you've got a captain Salah against Southampton at home, haven't you? Comfortably, well, I say comfortably, they are, I think, going to end up being the worst team in Premier League history. And Salah is about to break the all-time FPL points record for a single season. So, you know, I think he might even break it in Game Week 28, to be honest, against Southampton. So he's going to be my captain. I don't think there's any question as to who you'd captain this week. Palmer's obviously got a really good fixture as well in Leicester. But I do think Salah's fixture is better. And obviously he has been better this season. So, you know, people questioning selling Cole Palmer, I still think is a bit mad. You know, the form that he's in and the fact we got the blank game week coming up in 29, I just think you probably have other priorities to get rid of other players that probably blank in Game Week 29. So for me, I'm just going to stick with Palmer. And Mbumo and Semenyo, I don't need to say a whole lot about them, I don't think. You know, they're both pretty decent options. Semenyo's been a little bit poor of recent, but I can't massively justify getting rid of him. Isak, he's the one really. If Isak is confirmed injured by Eddie Howe for, you know, a long period of time, although I doubt that will happen, I doubt we'll get any info from Eddie Howe, but if that is the case, and I do have to think about getting rid of him. Cunha and Wood, I look at the two of them. You know, Wood, last season, he's got a couple of tough fixtures in his next three. But this season, based on how Man City have been defensively and how Man United have been defensively, those are not tough fixtures in my mind. So I'm happy to have Wood for all three of those. And in the Magic Game Week 29, he's got Ipswich and also Cunha, Everton, Southampton, West Ham in his next three. I bought him in not just for the good fixture he had in 2028, but also the good fixtures that he has going forward. So I'm really excited to have Cunha in my team. Means I've got to bench Rodgers. I think I'm happy to take that, though. It's between him and Semenyo. And to be honest, there's, you know, over a week to go until the FPL Game Week 28 deadline. So something could happen with any of these players in the team. So I might be forced to start Rodgers anyway. We'll see. Aina and Greaves as well on my bench. So the big, I think, talking point with my team at the moment is not necessarily what I do with it for Game Week 28, because Game Week 28 isn't a whole really exciting. And if you look at that team, I don't really need to take anyone out for it. The interesting thing is, what do I do with my team for Game Week 29? And I was pretty hell-bent on the idea of, well, I was going to basically dead end my team into Game Week 28 and then wildcard in Game Week 30 to allow me to set up for a Game Week 32, 33 and 34 bench boost. But, a bench boost in one of those weeks. And maybe using my free hit in 34 rather than 29. Sorry, I was just rambling with my ideas there. I do think, though, with the position that my team's in, I don't necessarily need to wildcard to survive Game Week 29, 30 and get through the future game weeks. Although I do think that's still probably the optimal way to set up my team. The decision I have to make is who in my team do I sell to get through Game Week 29 with a decent 11. Just with the money that I've accumulated in him, I know a lot of people are probably going to go for Salah, which does make it quite hard for me to... Sorry, people are going to go for Haaland, not Salah. People are going to go for Haaland for Game Week 29 and likely captain him. If I keep Salah and Palmer in my team, which I probably want to do, it's going to make it a little bit tough to do that. I don't know. I can't bring myself to sell Cole Palmer. If I wanted to bring in Haaland and captain him, the obvious way to do it would probably be to sell Isak and then sell Palmer and get someone cheaper in for Palmer and then upgrade Isak to Haaland. But I think we have to see what's happening with Isak's fitness there, because I've accumulated so much value in him now. I think I bought Isak for like 8.6 or 8.7 million. So I will lose $500,000 regardless of what happens if I sell Isak. So obviously, you only gain 0.1 for every 0.2 a player goes up by. So with all that in mind, for navigating game week 29, I think if Isak's fit, I'd probably have to keep him in my team. If Salah's fit, well, he's probably going to be, isn't he? But if Salah's around, I'm probably going to have to keep him in my team as well, because there's like $1 million tied up in him. So come game week 29, I'm going to have to bench, if he's fit, Isak, and definitely Salah, which leaves me with 3 other blanking players that I probably have to get rid of. So I'm looking at Trent, I'm looking at Hall, and I'm looking at Rodgers. Those 3, if we look at game week 29, those 3 are probably going to have to go. And then it's a question of, do I need to wildcard in game week 30 to set up my team nicely for the game week 32 and 33 doubles? I probably do, but what's annoying is we probably won't have the info for the game week 33 or the solid info on which fixtures are going to double in 33, or whether obviously they'll double in 34, I guess. I don't think they will actually. It's just game week 33. Game week 36 and 33 could be the doubles. Anyway, we'll get the info after the game week 30 deadline, so it's a little bit of a risky one as to when you actually hit the wildcard button. So for me, if we're awaiting the info for the double game weeks in game week 30, we should probably have it by game week 31. Maybe the play is to bench Salah for game week 29, don't use the wild card in 30, and not survive, because that's not the case, but I could probably get through game week 30 with sort of 1, maybe 2 transfers. Because I've got 3 in the bank at the moment, I'll have 4 come game week 29. I could probably survive that. Then when we have the info about game week 33, ahead, I hope, of the game week 31 deadline, I hit the wild card in 31. Then I've got a good team for 31, 32, and 33, where I could probably bench boost, because I've used my triple captain assistant manager already. So the only other chip to use on a double game week would be the bench boost. And then I've got my free hit for 34. And hopefully a good amount of free transfers to navigate 35, 36, 37 and 38 as well. Does that make sense? So I think, just looking, I'm in a fortunate position with my team at the moment where I've got a good number of transfers, a good number of players who don't actually blank in game week 29. So I can navigate things quite nicely. And I'd recommend, if you can, maybe to hold off wildcarding in game week 30. Look to do it in game week 31 instead, when we have hopefully a bit more info about the doubles. There is, well, one more topic of conversation, I guess. And I'm going to go back to another player as well. It's centered around Morgan Rodgers, right? I know he's got the goal off my bench in game week 28, or 27, should I say, which is great. But over his last 7 games, those are the numbers that he's put up. And those are not the numbers of a player that I want in my FPL team. And I think quite simply, I wanted to talk about this and give my opinion on it as well. I'm probably not going to sell Rodgers for game week 28, but I do want to buy myself a Bournemouth midfielder for game week 29. I think it's almost going to be essential that I'm doubled up on Bournemouth midfield going into game week 29. And my opinions changed slightly on the Bournemouth mids. I don't think you can read 100% into the substitutions that have been made of recent, but in the previous 2 games, I think Dango has been the one that's been sacrificed, shall we say. So when Zabarnyi got sent off in game week 26, it was 26, wasn't it? Yeah, it was game week 26. The game weeks are coming so thick and fast, I forget what they are sometimes. He got placed at left wing back when Zabarnyi got sent off. And then against Brighton in game week 27, when Evan Nilsson came on, Dango was the one subbed off. So I was previously saying, and I was pretty strict on my ranking of the Bournemouth midfielders, Kluivert's number 1, just the top scorer and penalty taker of the 3. Dango was probably number 2 because he was the most dangerous out of him and Semenyo from open play. And then Semenyo was in at number 3. But I think, given what we've seen in the last couple of game weeks with Dango, and again, you can't read 100% into it because I think all of these players could ultimately get subbed for Evan Nilsson. But I think the fact that Dango has had a couple of games now where he's sort of been sacrificed in a way, I think that probably shows that he's the manager's 3rd choice. So I don't actually think I would buy him anymore. I don't think he's an option. I think I'd probably keep him if I had him. Give him 1 more week in game week 28. See how if he starts, first of all, because Evan Nilsson's obviously back. See if he starts. If he does, then he's probably still a solid option. But if he doesn't, you've got the news there that he's not favoured anymore. But yeah, I don't think I'd buy him. I think for me, Kluivert will be coming in game week 29. But again, I go back to my team as it is for game week 28. I don't really think I need to make any transfers at the moment, but we'll let the FA Cup action play out this weekend. See if any of these players get injured. Knowing my luck, they probably will. And we'll go from there. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. As with all of these transfer plans videos, it's a little bit messed up and rambly or whatever, but that's the whole point. You're kind of getting my live thoughts as to what I'm going to do with my team. I don't really write a script for these videos. I just talk about my thoughts and feelings around my players. So if you've got any other suggestions for transfers I could make or ways I could navigate the blank game week in 29, then let me know down in the comments. Other than that, though, if you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave me a like rating. And if you haven't already and want to see more content from me, you can subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. It should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching. Got my remote here. And I'll catch you in my next video.